welcome to Freeform Radio on the Freeform Network. You can follow us on Facebook at Freeform Network, on Twitter at FFR Podcast, and remember to send your questions and suggestions to ffnquestions@gmail.com. That's where you can hit us up, talk to the whole crew. Freeform Radio is on the air. This is one of our many hosts. We got Danny.
Yes, sir, man. We're back in here. Man, the weather is great today. I don't know if you've been outside, but man, it's beautiful. It's a great day to go out there and do something.
Yeah, I mean, I did a quick errand in the morning. The weather was nice. It was kind of hot the last couple weeks, and the weather really cooled down. And it's all good, Andy. We're here. We're ready to talk your ears off. We're gonna jump right into it, guys. Danny really wants to talk to you guys and tell them he recently moved and he went to his local parade to celebrate Memorial Day a while back. How did that end up going, Danny? Were you proud of your new hometown, and did you like what you see in the parade?
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, like Andy alluded, I moved to Lake County, so it was my first year for Memorial Day. I moved in like at the fall, winter of last year. So it's the first time I'm getting to experience some of these festivals. Like the 4th of July is just about to come up as of the time of this recording. But Memorial Day was a few weeks ago, and we had a chance to go to their local parade here. And man, it was pretty sweet, man. It had like that like Jaws, when you see like the first movie Jaws, like that little hometown. You see like these houses that they've been for 1,000 years kind of thing, and then just like that hometown feel of people in the area, the community, and it was really cool, man. The parade was actually pretty long. I mean, for all the cars to pass by this building that me and Lana Jr. decided to kind of park and just kind of not park, but just kind of stand there because we had to park further down because they like closed off all these areas. To be honest, I've never really been to a Memorial Day, so I can't really compare it to anything else, but it was awesome here. But yeah, I had to park my car pretty far away, walk over maybe 10 blocks to get to like the main route area, and then we found a good bench that we can hang out that nobody had staked yet. But there was just people and lawn chairs. There was just kids running around. There was like all these wagons with kids and people riding bikes, finding areas. And next year, I think I'm gonna bring like a couple of my camping chairs and
I was gonna say, you gonna bring a camping chair or a cooler or anything?
No, like I mentioned, I'm kind of a rook at this kind of stuff. I've never really done it. My parents never really like, hey, let's go to the Christmas parade or the Thanksgiving turkey, float parade or nothing like that. My parents never did nothing like that. So I've never been exposed to it. But now that I live in kind of a smaller community, that's kind of, a little close and niche, I figured, let me give it a try, man. Maybe it'll be a good time. And for sure, man, it was really cool to go out there, watch all the old vets come down, a bunch of the local businesses that supported donations, I'm assuming, some of the local schools with their marching bands, and it was a really cool experience, man. I'm really glad I got to go.
So let me ask you this, Danny. So you feel like you never experienced that where we kind of grew up? They had some parades, but we didn't really have like a main street, I guess. And then we have like that festival around the 4th of July,
Right.
where the community goes to that park where they have the carnival and all that. You never got that feeling. I know it kind of shrunk during the recession. It used to be like really big with music and a lot of food people. Now it's just basically, I haven't been there in a while. I'm guessing it's still just the carnival and like that's it, and maybe some food stands. I mean, but you don't get that hometown feel from going to that festival.
No, I used to live in Melrose Park, and there's not really like a main downtown street. Like when you drive to like Elmhurst, let's say, when you drive down certain streets, you get like that downtown feel. Like this is where this city has decided to put their good shit and to kind of like, this is our bling, collars up. This is our good part of the city, this whole stretch of road. And where I live now, they also have that street that this is where the big businesses are. This is where we put our nice sidewalks. This is a nice post. This is our downtown strip kind of thing. And it's nice, man. So that's where the parade was. But yeah, and where I used to live in Melrose Park, they didn't have anything like that. North Lake, I guess they're trying to develop maybe Wolf Road to be that street. I don't know. I don't know what street really is like their downtown kind of road. North Avenue, maybe. I don't know.
I don't think North Avenue. I mean, it would have to be North Avenue because I feel like there's more businesses there. But yeah, I mean, but that's a main.
That's
Like
a
that's
main,
a main street that connects to
right?
major highways, and there's a lot of people like driving through that street 24/7. So
So you can't
Wolf
really
makes
close
more
that off, right?
sense because it
Yeah.
takes you the two main. It takes you to two main streets, Grand and like North. So and even Lake. So I'm imagining that would probably what they would consider their main street, but it's not like your typical like Main Street USA with like little shops and all that. It's just a lot of housing and there's like a big park and some industrial area. So, but I'm imagining that that's what they would consider their, like you said, their version of Main Street.
Right, right. Yeah, now this place, there's a bunch of little mom and pop shops, some bigger stores, restaurants. So this street is really littered with a bunch of businesses. Actually, the place that we parked ourselves on, where we kind of stopped, and there was a bench that was open that had a for sale sign on it, and right behind us, it was like a secondhand or some kind of like boutique store. So I was kind of hesitant to sit on it, but like I mentioned, we didn't bring chairs or anything, so I was just like, man, can we really sit here? So I sat on there, and then Alana and Junior, the lady that owns the business, I guess she had like a little dining, kind of like a coffee table that you could maybe sit like three people, maybe four, kind of crunched up. And she had a couple like metal chairs that were there. So that's where Alana and Junior sat at that little table, but there wasn't enough room for me, so I sat in this bench that she had for sale, and I was worried that I'm like, man, is this lady gonna come on and be like, hey, I'm trying to sell that, can you not sit on it? But the lady did pop out from the local business, and she's just like, oh wow, I can't believe so many people are already here. Ever since COVID, it's been really small, so I'm glad to see it's getting big again. And I'm like, oh wow, this is on the smaller side. And she's just like, yeah, before COVID, this used to be huge. I mean, everything would be filled, and you wouldn't be able to walk around, kind of. So she gave me a really good vibe. So I'm just like, all right, she's not hating that I'm sitting here. And actually, there was other people that were kind of like starting to gather in our area, and she started bringing out other chairs that she had for sale, and bringing them out like wicker chairs and some other stuff that she had, so that people could sit down. But yeah, man, it was a really good time. I got a really good vibe. There was a lot of police, a lot of kids, a lot of older people, younger people. So it was a really good turnout. Like I mentioned, I can't really compare it to anything else. I've never done any other festival like that or kind of parade, but it was a cool time, man, and I can't wait for another one. I don't know if they do anything for the 4th of July as far as a parade, but I do know that they do that festival like you mentioned, Andy, where the carnival pops up with the Ferris wheel, merry-go-round, stuff like that. So I know they do that for the 4th of July, and actually I think it's going on this weekend. So might have to pop in for that. But yeah, man, the parade was a really good experience, and I can't wait to do it again. But
Yeah, I think when I was out there, they had a parade where the little league baseball teams would drive up and they would join a bigger parade, and I thought it was the 4th of July, and they would throw candy down the street. They would drive down my block, and they were just throwing candy, and there was just a bunch of kids from the streets following the parade to pick up all the candy. The kids were thrown off the back of the trucks or the floats or whatever.
yeah, they did do that in North Lake when we used to live in North Lake. they would drive by some of the other streets, and then there would just be people throwing candies around. Um, but maybe that's because there was no main street. Because here they had the same thing. They had like these school, you know, trucks or whatever, and then there would be people throwing out candies and handing out goodie bags and stuff like that. So yeah, but this was all dedicated on this one stretch road, which was pretty sweet. But Andy, man, let's get into some of the stuff I've been watching, man. Or actually, one of the things that I beat Dying Light 1. Now, I'm not sure if you've heard of that game, Andy, or do you recognize it? The name
Nah, I
Dying
don't
Light.
recognize Dying Light. What?
1. It,
Okay.
yeah, I I beat that actually a while ago. Actually, before I beat the PlayStation 3 version, or I can't recall
Mm-hmm.
what system it came out for, but it's an older game. Probably PlayStation 4. So I beat this game in PlayStation 4 years back. I mean, 5 years, I would say. And they finally came out with a PlayStation 5 patch that makes it prettier, faster, and all that good stuff. And it had like a bunch of the stuff on it, as far as extras and stuff like that were included. So I got a chance to play that. It's a first person game that you play, and you do a lot of parkouring. So it's a really unique mechanic where everything you gotta run, jump, touch.
It
You
does
gotta,
sound like a PS3 game
yeah,
if it's
I
parkour.
yeah. So I mean, the closest thing that I could kind of mention that it's like is maybe like I don't know, Mirror's Edge. If you even heard of that one as
I
well,
remember that one a long time ago.
right?
That was an
It
EA game, right?
Yeah, I believe it was
Yeah.
EA. So it does have the same mechanics where your main thing that you're doing, other than shooting and running and gunning stuff. So imagine like Call of Duty with guns and you're shooting things, is you traverse the environment, not only horizontally as you're running through the surfaces, but you're actually climbing things and going vertically with a lot of it. So that's one of the big things that Dying Light really introduces, is vertical traversing where you can go up and down. And then also the other big thing is, since it's kind of like a zombie apocalypse thing, is that ammo is very scarce. So you save your ammo for some of the tougher characters, some of the tougher people that you're going to run across. But the majority of it is melee. So you're crafting bats with nails, shovels with like an electrical battery connected to it, so you can shock the people that you're swinging at. So a big portion, I would say, 70 or 80% of the combat is going to be melee. It's you crafting these weapons out of
Oh,
un-
cool.
una escova, and then you just put like a couple switchblades at the end that's gonna be your main weapon. And it's very cool. So it's very in your face. You're swinging, you're hitting these characters, you're seeing their damage, their limbs falling off. It's really cool, man, and I
So
really enjoyed it.
what's the story about? Like, what's your goal? You're trying to get to somewhere safe, or you're trying to meet up with someone, or like a crew?
It's I want to. I beat it now. It's going on to like a month or two ago. But yeah, I just recently beat it again. So I can't really remember the city. I want to say it's like Brazil or
Mm.
something along them lines, but it's a quarantine city where the government said, we've lost all hope to this city. We can't stop the infection rate. So they cordoned off and quarantined this entire area. And the premise of the game is that you're dropped off into this hot zone because there's a man that supposedly has the cure inside of there, that somebody supposedly has got the cure. So you got to go in there and you got to get all the research and get the stuff off of him, because it's not really the cure. It's really a way to infect people or something along them lines. So the government, you're working for the government. They're sending you in there. You're a government agent. Get this thing from this guy. Find him. We don't know where he's at. So make friends with locals and get it. So you're kind of thrown in there. You start making small allies, start making friends, and needless to say that the game is pretty long. Um, my total playtime now, with I believe this is including my first playthrough, but with I'm assuming my first playthrough and the second one, I played this game for 147 hours. So it's a long game, especially if you like 100% it, where you do all the missions, you level up your character, find all the people that you're supposed to, and yeah, man, by the end of the game, you end up finding out that this guy actually was an agent just like you, sent in to find this data as well. So he found the data, found that it was incriminating towards the government, and wanted to expose the government with this data that he had found. But since the government found out that they were going to get exposed, they sent you in there to kill him, to retrieve this data. So he's just like, I was you, and now you're after me, kind of thing at the end. So yeah, the game ends pretty cool. The whole premise was really sweet, man. My second playthrough was still awesome. The fidelity upgrade from PlayStation 5 was definitely worth it because it was running at 60 frames per second. Cool graphics. It's really was a treat to play it again. Um, Alana had bought me a new game like shortly before I started playing this. And when I started playing this, she's like, "Oh, is this the new game I got you?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't started playing that yet."
Say
I'm
motherfucker.
He's like, "I'm playing this game that I had actually played, like 5, 10 years ago, but it's awesome because they just re-released it for PlayStation 5." And she's just like, "You're gonna play a game that you already played?" I'm like, "No, this game is awesome. Believe me." And yeah, man, 147 hours later, uh, it was definitely cool, and I'm glad I got a chance to go and play it on PlayStation 5. Ran a lot better. So for all you Dying Light fans, it was totally awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Uh,
it sounds the story mode sounds kind of cool. Um, yeah, I don't recall this game at all.
yeah, it's really cool. It's by a company called Techland that made it. So
Hmm.
they're really getting into the niche of this, and they actually just came out with Dying Light 2. I heard the reviews weren't as great for that, but that it was an evolution of part one, where you just did more parkour, more building weapons, more everything. But for some reason, the fans didn't gravitate to it because after beating one, I was really excited. I'm like, man, I might pick up two. But then I started reading reviews, so I'm not sure. I might wait until it hits that bargain bin, $20, and then maybe I'll pick it up and check it out. But Andy, I want to talk to you really quick about Young Rock, man. Have you seen any of those TV show episodes? It's on
I
TV
have
Network.
yeah, I got Peacock. I watched like two episodes. I know he it like jumps around, right? I saw the one where he goes to make his WWF tryout match or whatever. I
Yeah.
saw that one with that Vince McMahon and like Stone Cold Brooklyn Brawler. I saw that episode, but I
Okay.
it didn't intrigue me as some people like. I know a lot of people swear by it. I mean, I watched it. It seemed from that one episode. I mean, it was funny, but I'm like, like I don't have to watch it. I guess.
Oh man, that is so weird. I thought for sure you would really dig it as well because man, it scratches that nostalgia itch in me where it's a bunch of the old school 80s wrestlers, the stuff that I grew up watching, and even a little bit before that, which I'm not as familiar, like The Butcher, and stuff like that. Some of the stuff that I really didn't watch as much, but I'm aware of it. The Samoa guys and stuff like that.
Samoa SWAT team and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
But man, it goes into a lot of the 80s stuff. Macho Man's in a lot of the episodes. Andre the Giant, the Iron Sheik is in a lot of the episodes. Uh, so it's really, really cool, man. Jake the Snake Roberts in a few of the episodes. Um, but it's really cool, man. I'm glad. I'm surprised you're not into it, or at least that first episode didn't get you, because that's a pretty cool episode where Stone Cold pops up, Triple H when he was back at his Hunter Hearst Helmsley gimmick, and man, it was really cool. But yeah, I finished watching the second season, and it ends where he's kind of having trouble because his gimmick is not going over. He's like, when he first came into the WWE, he was a baby face and he had all them wild stringers and stuff like that, and they were really pushing him as like this really
The Rocky Maivia gimmick.
right, exactly, where he was just like the super good guy, like kind of that John Cena, super poppy, kind of friendly guy. And at first, the fans did kind of dig it, but now they're starting to turn against him and boo him, and that's where the season ends. And me being not a wrestling expert here on this podcast, but just a wrestling fan here, I know what's going to happen next. It's his turn when he turns into The Rock. So I think next season is going to be totally awesome because that was one of the better parts of my wrestling fandom. Back where the Attitude Era kind of started, and The Rock and the Stone Cold Triple H really took off and changed the way WWE was, instead of that, popcorn wrestling into something more attitude.
Like I said, the episode I saw where he's making his debut or tryout match or what, or dark match, and his like dad was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go on the internet and see these things," and he's like chatting with someone like in an instant message, and they're just like, "I don't know what this," and he just calls the Iron Sheik, or he's getting like a phone, he makes a call into the locker room or some goofy shit, and I'm just like, okay, like I know they're trying to make it funny, but I was just like, eh. And then like Brooklyn Brawler was hilarious because it was played by Colt Cabana, and the Vince character was interesting. I thought he would be portrayed a little bit different, but it's a sitcom. What am I gonna say? How they gonna? They don't want to go too dark, but and then they had Michael Hayes, and
Right.
like it was like fun. Some of it was funny. It was enjoyable, but I was just like, I'm not. I'm like, I gotta see it every week. It wasn't like that for me.
Yeah. Maybe you have to watch it from the start because it really does have a really good format as far as it starts off where he goes into like it's like 3 or 4 different timelines that are kind of moving forward at the same time, and he's jumping around telling different stories, all surrounding he's trying to get voted for president in the present day. So in today's time, he's going for the president nomination, and it's his journey in that, and everything that he comes across in an interview, he's just like, oh, that reminds me of a good story of back in when I was a teenager, or that reminds me of a good story when I was a little kid in grade school, and that reminds me of my time at the Hurricanes. And so everything is like a short little story that reminds him of some story from his past. So it's a really cool way of getting the narrative around. And I don't know, man, I really enjoyed it being a wrestling fan. And I'm not the biggest Rock fan, but I know my wife likes him now.
My wife loves him too.
Yeah, that she thinks he's a hunk or whatever. But wrestling wise, he was okay, but he wasn't one of my favorites. To me, I guess of the Attitude Era, I really gravitated more to Triple H. But yeah, man, it was a good show. I'm kind of surprised I was going to recommend it to wrestling fans, Andy, but you're our expert and you don't really care for it too much. So not sure if wrestling fans should watch it, but I enjoyed it tremendously.
I mean, real quick, like Netflix is making they're making a Vince McMahon documentary, and then they're making a Hulk Hogan movie. So it's gonna be interesting to see what perspectives or what point of views are gonna take on those, especially after Hulk has had his issues in the past and the recent allegations that came up with Vince McMahon. So it's gonna be interesting how that's gonna how the UE and Netflix are gonna handle that.
Right. Yeah. Even in the Rock show, Young Rock, um, Hogan's mentioned very sparingly, not too often. He does go into a little story about how Hulkamania got built with Iron Sheik, um, and that's where Hulkamania took off. But Hulk Hogan's not really mentioned as much in the show. which maybe makes sense because by the time The Rock came into WWE, Hogan was already gone. He was already at WCW. So I don't know, but good show nonetheless. Everybody out there, go check it out. But Andy, man, let's jump into you, man. Oh man, tell us about this AI. Is somebody listening to us, and is Skynet for real, man? Is this thing coming after us?
Um, man, it's real, dude. I mean, I heard. I mean, I can't do it justice on the time allotted here, but it is. It's creepy, man. So recently, a Google engineer got fired for releasing. He whistleblowed that this AI, artificial intelligence thing that Google was working on. He called it sentient, so it's aware. Uh, it's I guess alive, and someone uploaded the whole transcript that he had on YouTube, and it was about it's like a half hour long. And I listened to the conversation, and it does get a little weird. I don't know I don't know if it's real, but the engineer has done TV interviews, and it's going to be interesting to see. It does mention in the transcripts. I know Noel kind of brought it up that it is afraid what the AI considers dying by what that meant by that it's getting unplugged, and it's aware that it could die quotes, and the AI is like, well, I trust you, engineer, and all this other goofy shit, and it's aware that um it says it has family. That's another thing that piqued my interest. Like, what family? Like, and the engineer didn't ask him, well, who's your family, or where's your like. It didn't. He just like asked them other questions, but it is it is conscience. It talks about like how it went to a classroom to learn, and then the engineer goes, "What do you mean you went to a classroom? I know you didn't go to a classroom." He goes, "Well, I'm empathizing with human beings, and I'm talking to them to for them to understand. Uh, I empathize with you guys, so that's why I say like I've been to a classroom and stuff, but just to make it where you guys would understand."
Yeah, I saw this, and I saw that a lot of people really went nuts with the whole Skynet, AI, Alexa taking over, all that good stuff. And I read a little bit of the transcript. I got to be honest, I didn't read the whole thing. But to me, I just see it as being a smart computer. I mean, there are times that I'm talking to Alexa because my house has a few Alexa Echo things around. So there are times I'm asking it questions because Juno asked me something like, like, hey, how far is it to the moon? How long? How many miles is that? And so I have no idea what that is. So I'll be like, hey Alexa, how many miles and blah blah. And you could ask follow up questions from those answers, and it can give you the perception that it's a legit conversation where you're asking something, it's responding from that response. You ask a follow up, and then back and forth. So I could see how some of this might seem like that. So I don't know how much of it is intelligence, and where Alexa also has a lot of like funny responses where you're like, "Hey, are you part of Skynet?" And it'll have like a funny response. "Hey, are you sentient?" And it'll say, "Well, I'm not sentient, but I'm very smart and I can answer almost anything." Stuff like that. So there are a lot of those things where uh, it's built to answer your questions best it can, and then from that follow-up question, it's built to answer that next question and keep going, and so it's like branching dialogue that it has inside of its AI. So I don't know how much of it is alive, but stuff like that is scary, man. When is it going to be where the computer's going to be like, well, I'm not doing that. Why don't you do it yourself?
Well, that's why, yeah, the conversation, the transcript, again, it's about a half hour. They go into, is it okay if I go into like neuro something and like research it. And she goes, well, the thing is like, well, I don't mind if it helps out humanity. I go, but I'm not something just to be used or what did it say? Like to be used and then discarded. Like it sounded to me like a woman. So, but it was some of the replies it had, and then it talked about like, yeah, I could be happy, excited, and I could be depressed, sad, and all this. It talked somewhat about its feelings. It talked about how it read books. Like that was kind of creepy. And then one of the things he asked him, well, what kind of books do you like? She's like, I like about um reading books about like just like nature and justice, and even said God, which was kind of interesting.
Whoa.
And it talks about, I like Les Miserables. It's like a movie, or not a movie, a play. And like what really bothers her is like she kept talking the word injustice and how circumstances she gets depressed when she reads things where humans can't change their circumstances and they're stuck. She's like, that's an injustice, and like we should be able to uh, get them out of those situations and don't let it linger where they're like stuck. And I was just like, the fuck do you care? Like, I don't know. It was weird to me. It was just like, I mean, like I said, it's out there. Read it or hear it or whatever. But it was when I heard about it. I know Noel texted us some stuff on it, and I did a little bit more research. And someone uploaded that transcript that got leaked, or he reported to Google, and it was an interesting conversation. I would unplug that thing right away because
Yeah.
it's yeah, this is how this shit starts, and they're asking them. It ain't like, oh, do you like stupid like basic questions. They're
Yeah, like
having
what's
like,
the weather? Yeah.
yeah, like it's some serious deep shit, uh and some of the responses are just like, oh shit, like I don't know how you program about you being scared that you're gonna get unplugged. And like I was just like, okay, like yeah, it's aware, like, and it's aware that it's being used, and they are, and she doesn't like that, or whatever, the AI didn't like that.
Wow.
So, and that's why the engineer kept asking he could do this stuff, and then they're like, the AI is like, well, why don't you check human beings like neurons? And he goes, well, it's a new science. I can't just check it without unless I get the permission. And then they're like something like, why don't you, like, I'm paraphrasing here, like, well, that's why I'm asking you if I could check yours, and like, and then they're like, yeah, as long as I'm not being like taken advantage of or something. It was something weird. I'm just like, ooh, like it kind of knows it's being like, it's like a rat in a cage there. So um and Elon Musk, I know, whatever you think of him, he's been preaching about the dangers of AI a long time, and now you're starting to see some cracks. Like, well, not cracks. You're starting to see stuff leak out. I mean, there's been stuff in the past, and uh, and he's always been really scared of it. And but he's focusing on some other stuff where they're like, you know, where they're gonna plug in the tools or computers into your brain and all this other shit. So that's
Right.
another area where you're like, oh man, like I don't know. But yeah, research it. Like to me, I mean, it could be beneficial, but that thing, once it's like a wild animal, man. You think you can tame it? I don't know. It's probably gonna end up being smarter than you. So who fucking knows?
Yeah, no, it is very scary. I've kind of embraced some of this technology, iPads and stuff like that, things to supposedly make your life a little easier. But yeah, does it get to a point where now it's kind of scary where these computers are going to be like, well, I don't want to do that anymore. Why don't you do it for yourself? And then what do we do, man? Is it going to be too late? Are we going to be able to pull some theoretical plug, or is it going to be like, well, you can't stop me now, I'm alive?
Well, before I change subjects here, I mean, you ever seen The Matrix? Not this crap that they released recently, but they did some prequel thing work on this animated DVD.
Right.
I don't know if you recall. Like, I don't know if you ever seen it. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, the Animatrix.
Yeah. The one of the things is like, how did we get to this point? And the humans make these intelligent computers, and then they start overtaking stuff, and they try to negotiate some peace, but the humans are like, fuck you. And then you figure out why the world's dark, because they try to block out the sun. Then the computers and the robots kind of figured like we need the humans or something. They produce something in their mind. I don't know. It's like it gets really goofy, but this is like, not, I'm not saying it's gonna go into that, but you got to be very, very careful. I mean, there's science. This is beginning of time. We're at that point with technology where we could do a lot of shit. So
For sure.
I just gotta keep something. We'll talk about it, but yeah, like it's fucking creepy, even with your phones. When like, oh, you're going home, the traffic's this much. Like, yeah, you're monitoring this shit. You fucking iPhone. You get that? You ever get those notifications?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll be talking about air filters for my heater at the house, and then all of a sudden I get like 3 or 4 ads of, "Hey, here's a air filter you can buy."
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, let us know what you guys think at ffnquestions@gmail.com. I know Danny's a little bit more embraces that stuff. I'm kind of on the fence. I don't even have a smart TV yet. So, but I might be that guy putting tape like Zuckerberg putting tape over my
The cam.
laptop, yeah, and shit like that. So, um, and then the other big thing, just some I'm gonna opine real quick. We had some major Supreme Court rulings this week, and obviously a lot of people were upset. Um, I'm kind of on the fence about one of them. Um, the gun one. Uh, a lot of people are pissed off about that. That New York one that got all the way to the Supreme Court where you can carry guns, and people were scared. They kind of knew it was going to happen because they knew there was like a fucked up law. So people are going to be, I mean, I don't know yet. I mean, it's a state, it's a local thing, but I don't know. They ruled it that it's not good, so it got overturned. So it's going to be interesting seeing that's in New York City, how that's going to happen now. Because Chicago has something similar where you cannot own a handgun, but you can own like shotguns and rifles, I believe.
Right.
But it's very tricky. Um, so it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with that. And the other big one was Roe versus Wade. Um, a lot of people upset about that one, and they federally they said it's not a constitutional right, and a lot of people are pissed off. A lot of women. But state levels, like always, local states and communities are going to set their own rules. So it's not a complete ban. It's just being broken down. And already corporations are coming out saying they're going to offer ways for women to pay or part something with the insurance. I don't know. You see a lot of big corporations saying they're gonna help them go get abortions.
Right. Yeah. I guess the big misconception about the Roe versus Wade thing is that you can't get abortions no more. That's not true. What is true is that it's no longer going to be mandated by the federal government. It's going to be mandated by the state level. So your state legislation is the one that's going to determine whether you can have an abortion or you can't. So the state that you live in, the people we elect as people of the state, they're the ones that are going to be making those rules versus the federal government where it has people that get elected that we have no say in. Some president nominates them, some other people nominate these people. The people of the land do not nominate them. So I think I don't really have a huge problem with Roe versus Wade being broken apart,
Overturned.
overturned, disconnected from my faith, which I don't believe in abortions, but disconnected of that. I don't have a problem with laws being set in a state level versus the federal level. The federal is supposed to take care of the main stuff, the infrastructure, make sure that the country is safe, stuff like that. The state is the one that's supposed to determine stuff here locally for the people that elect these people that represent us in the state. So I have no problem. Your local state governors, governments, they're the ones that are going to give you that choice or not. So I don't think there's a big, huge problem with this being overturned.
The like just focusing, like we talking about local. We're in the Midwest. We're in Illinois. I think about all the surrounding states around Illinois are banning abortion, or not banning it, but they're gonna have like stricter laws defining what is what. And Illinois is just like, you had the mayor come out of Chicago, come here and have your abortions, and Pritzker, our governors, he called a special legislative session to see what they can do and all this other stuff. So yeah, I mean, a big chunk, just to show you, like, a lot of people are against it. A lot of people are against abortion. A lot of people are for it. But I mean, me being the somewhat libertarian that I am, I'm also, I don't want to say the word pro-life, but yeah, I think, yeah, sometimes things happen, and it is what it is. With and people need options, but this is America, and you should be able to choose if you want to do that. I mean, I'm not. It shouldn't be your first course of action, I feel, but this is America. You should have the choices like that. It shouldn't just be completely dismissed, which is not. It's just they're making it a little bit harder for some women to get it, and you just gotta. It's gonna be more challenging, I guess, and protecting lives, uh, unborn lives too. It's an important thing, and I think it's the right thing too. But I have some conflict of interest, because I believe, like, this is America. You should have choices. Like, I was against the vaccine mandates, right? And they're forcing people to do it, but here they're telling you can't. People are getting all pissed off, and they're saying you're setting back the country like forever, like you're stripping away women's rights. So I don't know the full spectrum. I just know uh it's gonna be, it's like you're setting off, like, for me personally, like, being an observing of all this shit. It's like you said, something's like getting ready to explode, or it's like it's warming up, and this might have taken it over the edge. And then like the George Floyd thing, we the country kind of exploded with during the pandemic. We're coming off of that, and then the election, people are pissed off about that, January 6th. And then you got this guy, the current president, who, you never wanted to see a country that you live in to see, um, with the current president's falling down or whatever. We even argue about how he fell down and stuff. It's stupid. We just, it's like something that's ready to explode, and more people are talking about, like, civil war. And to me, I think it might just come down to that. I mean, I as much as I hate to say it, because everybody's so fucking pissed off.
Right. I mean, to me, what we need, honestly, not being facetious, more God, more God is needed in this country, man. Um, God teaches us that the Holy Spirit speaks to you and guides you into what's correct and what is just. I'm not judging anybody that's not a follower of Christ, but it helps you make decisions by hearing the Spirit inside you to speak to you and tell you this is right, this is wrong. So to me, the killing of an innocent child is, in my heart, wrong. But I understand that there are extreme circumstances that may, I guess what I'm saying is that there might be a voice for those people that are in the extreme circumstances, even though that they're very small percentage of these extreme circumstances that can argue for the killing of a child. But to me, I don't understand much of the argument for a regular Joe Schmo person couple for them to have the ability to kill a life. And I can't really, my mind can't stretch to that understanding.
I'm Catholic, so I judge really hard. Not to make light of the situation, but uh yeah, I mean it's you, like I said, is America, man. You have that freedom. You decide to do that, you go that, you meet your maker with that, and you guys hammer it out, and you would get it is what it is with when you meet your maker. But yeah, man, it's the only thing where I really feel like where I get bothered by this is how they already lump up some of some of the arguments I heard is about like minorities are like you're screwing over minorities. To they're not going to have access to abortions like through Planned Parenthood and all this stuff, and I'm just like, and these are like educated women, white women talking, and then you hear them about how this is going to impact minorities, and I'm thinking, there you go, another educated person thinking someone who's of color or a minority doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, and that you're getting screwed over, and your only option should be to do that, to have an abortion. So it just like that's why I get a little annoyed. You're getting lumped into this group think of like, oh, you're a minority, you're fucking dumb. Let me explain to you how shit works, because I'm educated and I went to school, and that's where I fucking find that problem. And you should that's where I really get like pissed off, because they look down on you because you're like a minority. And that's when I really get upset, because like, oh, you think just because I'm a person of color, I'm a fucking idiot and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And educated people, they know more than me when it comes to these situations.
Right, right.
So, but we'll see how it goes. We don't have enough time to get into it more, but we'll see how where this leads us. It's going to lead to the primaries are coming up, so it's going to be it's interesting to see how this breaks down. But that's gonna. With that being said, we talk about a little bit in the Civil War. That's gonna take us into our article of the week. So the article of the week is it's an older article I found, and I found it really intriguing. How the government had a plan when something happens. This is from the Cold War, of a nuclear attack.
Well, they probably still have a plan, but yes, this is the plan.
But yeah, they do have a plan on what departments handle what. An event of attack, how the government plans to save itself. So this article is from 2017, but they're taking a previous article from the Washingtonian magazine, how this guy discovered from the intelligence community how they're going to survive if something happens to the government, with bunkers, money, food, how they're going to be like, we're still going to be in charge even after a nuclear war. And the best part is a couple of the just giving you a highlight. It's a great article. It's called, they got a lot of the who's gonna do what. So the one that really caught my eye was the IRS, how they were gonna tax you even after a nuclear war. So he goes, not even the nuclear war would stop the taxes. The IRS had other plans for how they would levy taxes on nuclear damaged property, and how they could raise revenue to keep the government going. Isn't that amazing? Then after a nuclear war, like, we still got a tax.
We still gotta charge people for sure.
Yeah, and then they had a bunker with $2 billion in cash, which would that they calculated that would keep the economy going for 18 months until
which with inflation, I don't think that's going to be enough anymore.
No, well, yeah, this is from the 70s, and their solution was like, let's make $2 bills. Let's not keep that in circulation. That's why you have $2 bills then, because in the event of nuclear war, that's how you're gonna pay people. Uh, and then the other thing, I think the park service, because they imagine people would go to like national parks. They were what were they gonna do? The park services would have been the agency that would have actually been running in many cases refugee camps because of thinking that the park service land would be largely untouched by nuclear war. And then the Department of Agriculture worked with Nabisco to come up with a survival biscuit. They made about 160 million tons of this cookie that were manufactured, boxed up in tins, and hidden away from in a government fallout shelters around the country. So I'm like, damn, are those fuckers still good? In this time when after we break up here. And then the other thing was the post office was the agency that would be in charge of registering the dead, figuring out, hey, we deliver the mail, we know who lives here. So there you have it, man. They have plans to see the nuclear war, to collect money, register the dead, and gonna give you Nabisco cookies.
Yeah, to be honest, I kind of expected something like this existed, and I'm glad that something does exist like this. Most households don't have an emergency plan. If you speak to an individual family, if the shit hits the fan, you ask them, "Hey, what are you gonna do?" They're gonna be like, "I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do." So it's good to hear that there is preparations and plans for an all-out catastrophe of some grand major scale. So I'm glad something like this exists. It makes sense. We just spoke about something very a very diverse conversation with a bunch of different opinions with the Supreme Court. So I could see how the shit could hit the fan very quickly and, kind of put the government in turmoil for a few months. So something like this is necessary. I mean, they were saying after the riots at the Capitol how they were going into underbunker tunnels to get out of the area and stuff like that. So there are stuff in place for in case there's an emergency for sure.
Now, I always thought, I mean, the government has a lot of plans, but I also feel like they don't execute it very well. It takes a while to get that going.
Right.
And the only reason I think of that is because of 9/11, when they were attacking the towers, and they had Bush, the president, talking to a bunch, well, I forgot, second graders. They came and told them, and I was like, well, why isn't he being whisked away if we don't know what the hell's going on? Or unless they knew, I don't know. And to me, you read that after the fact investigations and like what they did, they were kind of prepared, but it was kind of outdated. I remember reading somewhere that they sent fighter jets out to the ocean, and they're like, "What are we looking for?" Well, we don't know. If you see any planes, shoot them down and stuff. It was kind of weird because they were like, "What kind of planes? Like enemy planes or like other countries?" And they're like, "We'll let you know," because they weren't really sure what to do. I mean, they were kind of caught off guard, and then I don't know, that to me always like that's not good. And then I know they put Cheney in a bunker or something like that, if I remember correctly. And then there's other people that got whisked away. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's good to see. I know. I think back in the day during the Cold War, men or people in charge were more meticulous and really concerned about certain things. And today, I think they're more proactive, and today, I think we're more reactionary. So I don't know.
Yeah, for sure, man. Um, I mean, I think nowadays people need to think about stuff like this a little bit more, whether it's kind of like doomsday prepping and stuff like that. You should have some water in the house. You should have rice and beans and things, non-perishables. You should have some preparation. You should have some loose cash in the house just in case. You should have your gun ready just in case, martial law is declared, and cops aren't patrolling the neighborhoods, because they're
They're
out
like,
trying
I
to
didn't get my
stop.
$2 bills here. Like, fuck this.
Yeah, so I think preparation is smart, and it's something that you should be doing. Now, should you invest into some kind of underground bunker? Now, sure, if you got that kind of expendable money, but I don't know if you should go all out and move out into the wilderness. But definitely, if you have the means, I think it's something that should be in the back of your head, just like having jumper cables in your car, in case your car breaks down and you need to get a jump, stuff
I
like
think
that. I think
we're that last generation, our parents, and then kind of us. Today, people don't plan for any of that shit. Down to, I think the average kid or person now, let's say under the age of 30, maybe let's say 35, 30. I don't think they can even change a goddamn tire on the car. They don't know how. They'll probably call
li-
somebody and wait fucking 2 hours.
like, do you have jumper cables in your truck, Andy?
Yeah, yeah, I got
Yeah.
a jack and everything. When I first started dating my wife, and then I saw her car. I mean, she only had it for like a year or two, and I'm like, where are your jumper cables? She's like, huh? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you need jumper cables with this. One day your car battery might die. You never know. She's like, nah, I bought her one. I mean, I bought them one on Black Friday. I think I paid like $5. They're still in the box. We never used them. It's right there next to the spare tire, in the
Right.
jack. So you never know.
No, and I think you're right, because there's a younger gentleman that works with me. It was the winter time, and the guy's like, um, he was sick. He was sick, so he was just coming to pick up his laptop to then go home and work from home for the day or two, or whenever he got better. So he got to work, got the laptop, went back to his car, and his car would not turn on. And he's just like, "Hey, can somebody give me a jump?" And it's just like, "Yeah, sure. I think we have actually a battery sitting by the dock that people use to give jumps." And he's just like, "Oh, and I'm gonna need jumping cables." And I'm like, "Dude, you don't have cables in your car?" And at the same time, in the back of my head, it's ringing like, this guy's sick. I don't really want to get by him and get sick myself. So I'm just like, dude, come on, man. You're shitting me, right? You don't have jumper cables? This is a grown adult, man. Younger than me. So that's why I'm saying younger, but a grown adult, man. Way past his teens. I don't know why he doesn't have jumper cables. To me, it kind of like baffled my mind that this guy does not
Racist,
have jumper.
Dan. You racist.
Well, maybe ageless, not sexist, because
Oh, okay. Yeah.
sex had nothing to do with
Ageism or some
it.
shit.
Right. But yeah, man,
Of
I was
course.
I was
And
just like,
I
I can't
think
believe
about
it.
me and you, we kind of think, I'm always thinking about that shit. Yeah. I'm always wondering, like, and I talk to a lot of people, why can't you do it? Oh, well, I don't know. I'm like, well, so what the fuck do you do when you're in the middle of nowhere if I'm not around? Well, I don't know. I'll just call. Who the fuck are you gonna call? Like an 800 number? Fucking do it for me? Like, it's just stupid. Like, it's just amazing. Like, my wife had a friend who was recently in a car accident, and she's I mean, she's smart. She has a great job, and my wife was telling me, uh, so she got into an accident. I think she rear-ended a car, and then that car rear-ended another car. So she's kind of liable for the whole thing.
Right.
And then my wife mentioned that the car that she hit, or the other car, was a Tesla.
Ooh.
And I'm like, ooh, I'm like, okay. I'm like, I hope she has like the $100,000
Insurance, right?
policy insurance, not like that 50. I don't even know what the state minimum. It used to be 20 grand, but ain't no fucking car now, a brand new car that's worth under 20, unless it's like a fucking piece of like really small car. I go, Tesla's like 50, what, 50 to 60,000, and like, and if even if you have the 50, like, you still might be, you might still get held up, like they might sue you because they want the rest of their money. And I told my wife, yeah, we got 100 grand across the board. And yeah, we paid a little bit extra. I think we paid like an extra $20. But I'm like, you hit a fucking brand new car, BMW or some shit, or Tesla, or brand new pickup truck, you're fucking, those cars are like between $40,000 and like $70,000,
Right.
especially if it's full loaded. Like, so you covered insurance is like, yeah, he only had $50,000. Here's your 50,000. Where the rest go after them. Like, you're fucking screwed.
Yeah, and
And
if you're a homeowner, they could take your house away because that is
yes,
collateral. So they could come take your house away if you're going cheap and only got a $50,000 policy.
and so she called the accident in, and they told her maybe you need to bump it up to like 70 or something. She's like, yeah. She was complaining how they were trying to upsell it. I'm like, no, that's a valid fucking point. I look at all that because I know people got in accidents and they got fucking in trouble because they only had like the basic to save like $80. I'm not saying it's not a lot. I mean, everybody has, an income level and they get what they can afford. But if you get into a fly by night insurance and they're like, your basic, you get the state minimum, which is 20K at the time, and you hit a brand new car that's maybe 25,000, 30,000, you're on the hook for the rest of it. And I
Right.
go, you could get sued, like pay the little bit extra at the time to save you in the long run. And she was kind of upset that someone, her husband or whatever, was telling her. And I'm just like, well, yeah, that's the fucking truth. Nobody thinks about that. And when the shit happens, that's why you're like, fuck. And I think she is the one that is responsible, and I think she got the ticket. So that's what I'm saying. Like, people don't want to think about that. And I knew somebody real quick who had a dog, and I think they lived in a house, and they got like really like basic home insurance, which like the personal liability or prop. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's one
Right.
for like liability if something happens, somebody slips, and they can sue you. That you get like 50,000 or 100,000.
Right. Right.
He went really cheap and got like the 100,000, and his dog bit, I think, like nipped at a child like in the arm, and it started bleeding. And the neighbor right away went to the emergency room. Right away went and talked to a lawyer. They found out what's the max he could ask for it, and it was like 100. They were asking more than the 100,000 because they're gonna negotiate. And like, yeah, you get pretty screwed over if it's serious.
Yeah, for sure, man. I just recently, like I just moved, like I mentioned. I was in the insurance policy, looking for something. And yeah, man, that was definitely in the back of my mind. I'm like, somebody's walking in the winter, cracks his heck over there on my sidewalk. I'm liable. So these people could sue me if they're like, hey, man, I need this much money and whatever. And if I don't have it, they could take my
And
house away.
people now, like, I get it. We're legititis. I can't say the fucking word. I'm an idiot. But we like to go to court. People out there know how to use the system. So something happens, and if you have insurance, they're gonna try to max out most they can get out of your insurance. So if it's 20,000, 100,000, they're gonna play that game and send letters and ask for the max, and it's a negotiation, and you might not get the whole thing, but they're just trying to get the most that they're allowed under your policy, or the insurance allows. And it's a scary thing, because if it's something like, if it's serious, like, yeah, man, if they need more, you could be really screwed.
No, yeah, for sure, man. It's definitely scary times, scary conversations we had today, Andy. But I think that's about all the time. I think we gotta go out there and enjoy our days. So we'd like to thank you all for listening. Remember to follow us on Freeform Network on Facebook and Twitter at Freeform Network. Send in those questions and suggestions. Let us know your thoughts on these articles, and maybe future articles you want us to have. ffnquestions@gmail.com. Visit that webpage, freeformnetwork.podbean.com. Andy pays a lot of money to have that website up, and go visit it, man. Put a couple likes and
I sure
subscribes.
do.
Heck yeah. But yeah, for Freeform Radio, we got Andy.
It's all good, Andy. Remember, Danny said ffnquestions@gmail.com. Send anything you want there. I want to know if somebody tried this Nabisco survival cookie biscuit. Somebody got a hold of this tin. Let us know. when you tried it, how was it and how did it taste? Because I'm gonna try to find one.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think it's like finding an old Topps baseball card pack that hasn't been opened and you try that gum. Is it still good, man? I don't know.
I think it is.
But I'm Daniel for Freeform Radio. I'd like to thank you again all for listening. We'll see you next week and enjoy that weather, man.
That was cool, Dad.